We're going to go ahead and start today just to honor your time. For those of you that are here, thank you so much for joining us. And this is Julie DeLeon. I'm the curriculum coordinator for elementary language arts, and I get the pleasure of working with the BAS contacts. And so we're going to just start off with some beginning of the year routine information. Also some information that's new this year that we want to cover. I hope everybody had a dry and safe weekend, and hopefully everything went well this morning with the late start. I'm sure the kiddos were excited or maybe still sleepy. I don't know after all the rain. But so welcome and thank you for being here. I'm going to ask that those of you that are in attendance, because we don't have a roster for Eduphoria, we need some tracker of who attended the meeting. So if you will today, just email me, Julie DeLeon at Round Rock ISD, and just let me know, like, I attended, I was there on air. That way I know who's attending, and we have roster of that if anyone is to ask or need that information. So we are also going to use, if you look at the top of the screen, it says ask a question at Google, and it's like a shortened little address. If you will write that down, it's on every slide, but if you can ask your questions through that forum. I know that there's a chat forum also, but my group chat doesn't seem to be showing up anything from the group. So if you could use the question band at the top of the slide, and I have it open on my screen, and so I'll look at that as we go, and that's how I'll address questions. So go ahead and use the ask a question, because my group chat doesn't seem to be showing up anything right now. So again, thank you for being a contact for your campus. It's an important role, as BAS is such an important assessment for our kids and for instruction. And I thank you for all the extra time that you take, because I know that that is a lot of extra time that goes into helping your campus and helping the windows run smoothly with your colleagues. So I really appreciate y'all a lot. I thought we could start by going through the contact responsibilities. And for those of you that have done this in the past, you're familiar, and there are some new people this year, and thank you for joining us as part of the team. One of the responsibilities is to take part in the contact meetings at the beginning of the year, at the middle of the year, and the end of the year. And those dates are already posted for all of these meetings on the ARC. So if you go to the BAS tab, I'm going to pull it over here. Down here at the bottom of the page under this BAS chart, it has our contact meetings. So those will be there. And I will be going on pregnancy leave probably in November for our middle of the year. So someone will still hold that so that y'all get the information, because that'll still be really important. But just so you know that I will not be around for that one, but I'll miss y'all. So another part is the assessment leading that needs to happen on your campus. So there's several different aspects of that you'll be responsible for as a contact. One is to share a contact meeting with your entire campus. That's really important. On this important test. And so if you could get this out to the entire campus, anyone who tests, as well as your admin staff, principals, so that they know what's going on as well. And also any kind of communication that takes place, like emails or things like that, outside of the assessment window or within it, just continuing that communication loop so that all teachers are aware of anything new or developments, because it is kind of a live system and we're always trying to iron it out and make it best. And so from time to time there are little tweaks that need to be shared. Also to support teachers new to BAS and understanding the assessment. Many of you last year were trainer of trainers for the modules, and so with that information you can help with new teachers that might be assessing, just checking in. Do you have any questions? Are you doing okay with that? How are you coming along? Just that extra level of support that would help them along in this first window. Just so everyone is on the page with this training, the new teachers, anyone that was new to Round Rock, they got a full day of BAS modules in August at new teacher orientation. So it was all the modules from last year put together in about 6 hours. So they have had that training, hopefully. And so that was the mode through which the BAS modules were passed along, and that's what we'll use in the future as well, so that we continue our investment with understanding BAS. And also monitoring the status of testing alongside teachers during the window. So just making sure that the data is getting in, that teachers are aware, like the windows are open, they're getting on their testing in a timely manner. And we'll talk more about ways to test effectively or efficiently in just a little bit. So just helping with that monitoring of testing, which is really important to get everybody in the windows. And we'll talk more about the system for that as well. A friendly reminder that BAS module refresher is open right now for the beginning of the year, and it closes on September 8th. I'm already getting rosters from campuses, so I understand that lots of people are already doing this, and that's great. This just helps continue the big investment in time that we had last year on the BAS modules and just polishing our skills, especially with the running record part and the analysis piece. And then we'll have another refresher towards the middle of the year and it'll start in October. And then if your campus can just send the rosters to me, that'd be great. And assistant principals have gotten this information as well. So now down to some really important information about the testing windows. We have on the screen, this is a little change that was made. We talked about it last year, but for this year, about no longer having dual language campuses or non-dual language campuses, more like at the teacher level for assessment. So if you're a non-dual language teacher, a monolingual classroom, then your data should be in on or before the 15th of September. And if you're a dual language teacher, your data should be in on or before September 22nd. And the reason behind this switch is just we really need to make sure the data is really clean and tight. And the system that we use now, we will assign dual language teachers, specifically the dual language form in Eduphoria. So that keeps teachers that aren't in dual language classrooms and from entering data, and it just kind of gets a little hazy sometimes. So we were just trying to get a system to really keep it really clear, so we have the cleanest data, the most accurate data. So those are the windows, and the windows are earlier this year. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is that feedback was that early in the year would be a good time to go ahead and, once we get our kids, learn about them as readers so that instruction can start. Another reason is we align to Foundis and Pinnell's BAS instructional levels chart, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but I'm going to pull it over here so y'all can see it. This chart, so Foundis and Pinnell have this chart, and the BOI, the MOI, and the progress monitoring and the EOI are the parts that Foundis and Pinnell have on their chart. We added the second 9 weeks column right in the middle there between these two to help with reporting on the report card. But basically, research for BAS has been normed and shows the cut points at those 4 points in the year. And so in order for Round Rock to be aligned to those national norms, we have to follow the windows as set forth by the research that Foundis and Pinnell did. So that means that our windows, as you can see at the top of the chart, I don't know if y'all can see me pointing here, but BOI, this is BAS, August through September, that's their window. So we have to stay within that. So that's part of the reason. Those are the two reasons for the change. We can talk more about that chart in a little bit. Okay, So, as you know, BAS data is critical data. It's critical for the classroom teacher because it's a huge implication for an individualized instruction and reading. And then it's also important to the district as well. So on-time reporting of BAS data is critical for clean and accurate data and concise student data. So all Round Rock student data should be in by the windows as set forth by the district, and we won't have any extensions. The windows that we discussed earlier, these are the ones we really need to monitor and have teachers abide by. And they're important windows. Also, when we do any kind of test, the more we draw out a window, the less accurate the data becomes. And a 3-week interval is about a norm amount of time for testing, especially if you think of younger students and how fast they can progress and how that data can become not as accurate if they were tested at the beginning of the window, if we extend it in that way. So just supporting the fact that we need to have the data in by these windows. Okay, so just a little reminder, and I think we all agree that BAS data is getting to know your students. It's an investment in time now, and it informs instruction for the future. So it's no longer like it might have been when we were in the system of DRA, if any of you were there with us at that time. It sounds like we might have lost live feed. Can y'all let me know through the Q&A if you can still hear me? It sounds like there might be an issue. Can y'all hear me? Anyone? I hope I'm there. I didn't say anything. Uh, do that. Let's see. Oh yeah, it looks like maybe I'm back. Sorry, everybody. Not really sure what's going on. People are saying you can't hear. I keep going in and out. The little dots say that. Okay, I think. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. I hope y'all can hear me. I'm back. It sounds like. Okay. Okay, good. Thank y'all for being patient. I don't know what's going on over here. I'm not touching anything. It's just doing its own thing. I don't know. All right. So how can we structure testing to be most efficient? So one of the things that we're really suggesting is that teachers, so if I'm on a team with 5 people, we each take a day of the week and we break our kids into rosters and send them to their classes. And that way we can have a day of testing with our kids and cycle through it that way. That's going to be a really efficient use of your time because you just get to focus on the testing with your kids, and then your that you pull, and the other students are still continuing with instruction in the other classrooms. And then that way, last year we tried to level all the kits for BAS through IMA, and so hopefully you aren't having to share kits, but in the case that you were for some reason, that could also help with that material need. So that's what we really suggest, is that teachers test for a full day and divide up the kids. And that's probably the best structure that we've thought of. And I understand that that's one that lots of campuses are finding to help. And that's probably the most efficient one that we've heard of, that people, and that's able to get them through the testing in a fairly quick amount of time. So they're not just doing a few here and there throughout the day across the time. So we have 2 charts, and we've gotten some questions about these charts. So I just want to make sure that the BAS contacts are clear, because that'll help teachers understand them too. So we have 2 charts, and I'm going to go to the ARC in a second, but there's the instructional level chart, which is that really colorful rainbow chart that I shared earlier. And then we also have a reading level correlations chart. So let's talk a little bit about those, just so that y'all can understand them and talk to teachers about them. So if we go to the ARC, and I hope everybody knows how to get here. I can back up if you want. Here, let me back up just in case y'all don't. I'm going to back y'all up. Okay, so if you go to any grade level, so let's just say I'm 4th grade, language arts. Up here, there's the BAS Cell EDL tab. I'll click on that. Okay, so here's the instructional levels chart, and that's the one I was showing you earlier. So what is the purpose of this chart? The purpose of this chart is to show the cut points for the grade levels. So if I'm in kinder, and I can see like, what are my cut points that I have across the year for my expectations? So it's also color coded. So I'm gonna look over here. It says BAS exceeds expectations is blue, meets expectations is green. So green is really that like on level area, right? So this shows me, if I look at green across any grade level, what the expectations are for those cut points in the year. And this year, as you know, we've aligned our levels to Fountas and Pinnell, a national norm, as well as some independent research that was done here to make sure that those levels worked for Renwick ISD. And so the work has been done. So kinder is now exiting at a level D expectation for end of the year. So you can see that on the chart. So this chart is basically that. It, on a basic level, it shows you who, what the meets expectation levels are for each grade level, for each cut point. It also gives a lot of other information. We worked in committees this summer and over last year, actually a lot of the year last year, to improve our chart and our expectations. That's really clear for teachers. This chart is also really good because along with the blue and the green, yellow, orange color is also the percentile alignment to BAS for Ames Web. So you can see that as well. At the top of the page, it gives you the BAS windows and the Ames Web windows in one. So you don't have to go to different places. On the right side of the chart, it talks about the frequency of individual or small group minutes by a core instructor. And that's really helpful in teams making decisions for kids and supporting them as readers. And you can see, depending on the different levels that the kids are following at that grade level, the intervals of support would vary. Also, another thing that this chart offers is the frequency of running records, which if you've seen the BAS refresher modules, you know about this, but just to kind of tell the group. So it talks about running record expectations as well. So this document has a lot of information in it, but the main purpose is to offer the expectations that we have for students and their instructional levels, and then the expectations we have in monitoring kids and supporting them through small group. And then the running records would be the way we monitor. If we go down to the second page, we have the same, except for now we have it for CEL and EDL, which are the assessments that we use in our dual language classrooms. So if you're a dual language campus, then your teachers also need to attend to this. There's been some work on this chart to make it more helpful, because we switch in third grade to an EDL system, which CEL doesn't go up to fifth grade, so we have to switch. But there's been some work here with levels, like you can see. We're talking about instructional level and independent to help really guide teachers and help them place kids in the texts that are best for them. And a lot of the similarities are on the chart. As the BAS level chart is just a little different in the way that we're breaking down the levels to be sure that we're really targeting those students' areas of or those zones that they have of proximal development to support them as readers. As before, it was almost like one grade, like fourth grade was 40 across the year. So now we've broken it down a little bit. On the third page, you'll also find the finding levels placement chart. So when teachers have done a running record and they've done a comprehension conversation, this will help them figure out where they place a child so they can make those decisions during testing. So that's that. And the correlation chart, the main purpose of that is to help teachers understand, like, okay, if I'm a teacher and I'm pulling groups for G, Fountas and Penhall, but I'm in a lit library that's only DRA or reading recovery, I know which levels to choose. So this document really just tells you the correlation of other reading systems that are very popular that might be in lit libraries. It also is helpful, like if you have a student that came from Austin or San Marcos, I don't know, somewhere that does a different assessment than us that's on this chart, you can see right away, like, okay, they came in at a 20, that means they must be around a K for BAS. So that's the important part here. And we haven't used any kind of grade leveling on this because we really want people to refer to this instructional chart as their one spot shopping for anything to do with instruction. And then the correlation chart is just like, okay, well, I want to pull these books and they're level through reading recovery. What level would that be? So hopefully that helps clarify that. If you have questions, let me know about that. I'm just going to go check. People are submitting. Okay, so it sounds like people are submitting comments on the YouTube slide. For some reason, my YouTube slide is not showing any questions. I don't know why, but it's blank. So I would ask that you use the Ask a Question at Google, that little dark gray line. If y'all could put your questions in that, that'd be awesome. That way I get them. I don't know why I can't see the group chat, but it's not working for me for some reason. So if you do have questions, let me know through the Ask a Question link, please. Thank you. Okay, so a little bit about the protocol for, well, we used to call it the kindergarten protocol. Last week we did some, we had some questions about serving our newcomers to Roanoke ISD, and we really think that it's not just a kindergarten protocol, because there are teachers who use it in first grade. So we kind of want to remove that stigma that it's a kindergarten thing only, but it's really an assessment to understand early readers. So we've just called it, last week we decided to that doesn't change anything, but just rename it, the protocol for testing early readers. And an important thing about this is and it does tailor to kinder, because obviously the students are new to school, and their literacies vary in the early development stages, so it does probably apply mostly to them, but we don't want to exclude other people from it if it serves them best and helps the teacher with information. So we just want to emphasize that you need to start, or whoever's teaching, whoever's assessing really needs to start at a level A and then back down to an ELB. So we want to give the student a chance to show what they know in a book before we just give them the ELB. So if you look on this slide, you'll see a little snippet of the protocol that we basically, like I said, it hasn't changed at all. We just color coded the kindergarten part in green and then added a newcomers section in blue. So I did want to just go over that a little briefly now. I don't think there's a whole lot of children that this applies to, but for the kids that it does, we want to make sure that we're serving them and getting the best information for those children. And so you can see that for newcomers speaking a language other than Spanish, we want to observe their reading behaviors within the English language. And so the teacher would use this protocol. But again, we want to start the assessment with an A. And then if a student does not respond by reading, then you would go back to the ELB for the child in English. And then you will report that to Eduphoria. So K through 5 will have ELB as an option to report. So again, this protocol, you can see the note, is widely used with kinder, but it may be used with students in other grades where it applies and if the teacher deems it important. And there are students that come from other countries that don't have the same conventional system that we do of language. Like, if you're from an Asian country, their script is different and organized and reading in a different way. So the ELB can give the teacher some information about how the student handles English texts. So that's the protocol for testing early readers. Again, not a big change, just retitled it to be more inclusive and also added the spot of the blue paragraph for helping our students that are newcomers. I'm going to check the Q&A really quick. Let's see. So I think there's a question regarding teachers cannot get BAS under student inventory on the test available. And Eduphoria, Erica was working on that today. So I hope that it's open now. They should be able to get in it today, for sure tomorrow. If they are not able to get in it tomorrow, if y'all could let us know, because that's important. So I think that's the only question we have. For the ELB, also remember it's available in English and Spanish. English has 10 little points to go over with them, and Spanish has 11. So we also want to talk about a data validation and monitoring process for the BAS contacts and for campus administration. So as BAS contacts, we're asking that you lead this, and we have any communication that we've sent you, we've copied your assistant principals on as well. So we are hoping that partnership's really going to help us get our data in. So I'd like to share with you what that is really quick. I'm going to go to okay. So if you look up here on the BAS tab, in blue, it says BOI data validation and monitoring process. So there's a video that Erica's done, so you could watch a quick video if you want to. There's also directions, and we've changed it from last year. So if you can take some time to go over this on the ARC and look at it, we just really need to promote accurate and timely data entry. And so you can see here's the campus documentation process here, and there's a teacher validation process as well. So basically, oh, I see people in there. Welcome. Each BAS contact will create a teacher list for their campus. Your registrar can also probably provide that for you. And then each teacher will print out a roster of students. and highlight those children who are going to be assessed. And then you're going to use, or the teachers will use, this validation process below to ensure accurate data. And all you have to do is go through and check. And I would say even, it'd be great to do it once a week, but if you for sure check in like that Monday before the last week of the window, just to be sure, like, where are we? Are there people that we need to get helping? We need to get, the admin to encourage them or to talk to them about their information. So there's this early literacy protocol. We're not going to do the monitoring forms like we did last year. We think that this might be a little more streamlined and easier process. So take a look at that. And I have another slide that we'll talk about it as well. And let me go over to the questions to see if anyone has questions about that. I don't see. Again, if you can use the Ask a Question link, that'd be great. So the teacher to-do list would be, or I guess the BAS contact, just review the validation protocol, make sure you're aware of that. If you have any questions, let me know. If teachers can review their class list now and make sure that everybody's visible, that'd be great. This gives us time to work out issues, like say a child's not on the list or whatever the complication may be that needs to be problem solved. We could do it now instead of at the end where it might get a little tricky with the window. So just ask that the teachers go ahead and review their class list and be sure all the kids are visible. And if they're not, then talking with the registrar about that would probably be the best first step with that. Also last year, if you had dual language, if you're a dual language teacher, sometimes kids didn't show up and there was different reasons for that, but we are trying to code that. We're sending the test out by teacher, so it shouldn't be a big issue of lots of kids missing from your roster. If there are, that would be a good point to talk to the registrar about, because there might be some codes that need to be assigned for some of the kids. If at all possible, we ask that teachers enter data as they go. So if you can emphasize that. It seems to happen. There's people that get sick, or families have emergencies, and then data is missing and people are trying to figure out, how do we get data in for this teacher? And so just to be proactive and putting the data in, on a daily basis or as it gets finished for kids. That way we're working ahead of the game and trying to get that in, since we don't always know what might happen for the future. Okay, so we also have the Level Z protocol for testing 4th and 5th graders. And this also, if you've seen the BAS refresher, I hate to repeat information, but this is one just to be sure that people are aware of. I know that not everybody has seen the refresher, but I'll show you in the ARC where the protocol is for 4th and 5th. So last year we got a lot of questions about, I have this student and she's been testing in Level Z now for like 3 windows. What do we do? And the protocol was just keep testing them. So we talked about it, and this decision was made to improve that process a little bit, so we're not over testing kids, but still helping support kids. So if you look where I am, here is, right here where it says a new Level Z protocol. If you look there, there's actually 2 things that will come up. We'll look at the protocol first. Okay, so you see on this protocol that it's for 4th and 5th grade students. Those are the kids that are most likely to be most appropriately placed at Level Z. And so what we want to do is, in this red, really look at alignment of BAS and AIMSweb data. And if the Level Z is independent, independent's really important there, independent Level Z, because that means they're really, high accuracy, 98 to 100% accuracy there. And with a high level of comprehension, like I would expect a very high level for 2 consecutive windows, plus on AimsWeb, they're above average or well above average, then those children, we can stop assessing them at a level Z. We would report level Z to Eduphoria, and then from there on out, we would consult the continuum for instructional goals. So we're still looking for goals and ways to help that child as a reader with their reading behaviors, but we don't need to continue testing a Z if that's been done and they're independent and their AimsWeb data is showing that they're above average or well above. There's also a little part down there for K3 that teachers can read, but this abandoning the test, I guess you could say, at a level Z after multiple windows is really for 4th and 5th grade students. And there's an important part of the document here at the top too that talks about what exactly a level Z is like as a reader, so people really understand that. And then some well-known titles of level Z books, just so we can think, okay, this child really, if we're maxing out, then this is something they could read and they could really understand it, talk about it, critical thinking, that really that high level of comprehension is there for them. So we will see how this goes this year, and hopefully it'll be effective. Back to that folder, there is a spreadsheet. This spreadsheet shows children who were in 3rd grade who will now be in 4th, right? And 4th grade who will now be in 5th. So this is last year's data, but to help our teachers this year in figuring out kids who tested Z independent for 2 or more. So you can see like this little student, Zahara Hill, was in 3rd grade both times for level Z. So we could look at her AimsWeb and see if she's well above, and she is, so that would be one of our qualifiers. So this little spreadsheet in here should help you. If you have any questions, Erica Simmons worked on that spreadsheet for us, so she'd be able to answer those. So hopefully that helps with the level Z protocol. Looks like we have some questions. Well, let's see. So there's a question when we have the spreadsheets this year that tell us our numbers of entries per class. So we won't have that spreadsheet this year. That monitoring spreadsheet won't take place this year, but the system that we're using is the roster system, this one. And so if we could use that and do teacher check-ins, that's going to be the system we're going to use this year. So, and I think, let me see if there's another one. Oh, good. Someone's liking the Z protocol. We hope that helps with kids too. We'll continue to receive feedback on that across the year to see how it goes. Will the spreadsheet be provided at each testing window? That's a good question. I believe it will. Erica's the one who did that spreadsheet, so I'm going to mark a note. I'm pretty sure we've talked about doing that at each window. Probably so like, I don't know. Well, let me ask her, because I'm thinking if the teacher, let me ask. I'll just leave it at that. I'll ask Erica about that, and then I'll follow up with the group on that question about will that spreadsheet be for each window? For each window. Okay. That's a good question. All right, and I think we have another question. So someone asked, where is the folder with the Z spreadsheet? So good question. So if we're back on the ARC, well, let me go. Okay, so if we're back on this tab, if everybody remembers how to get to that, the BAS tab, so you access it through whatever grade level language arts. If you go to the table of contents, so these things at the top are like our huge heavy hitters that people are always looking for, so we didn't put those in alphabetical, but everything under orange is in alphabetical order. All the way down to where it says new level Z protocol and spreadsheet, that's where it is. So if I click there, a little bit, there it goes. So that's where that is. Okay. Let me see if there's any other questions before moving on. Nope, that looks like it. Okay. So the entering student data spreadsheets or help sheets, just a little reminder of where those are on the ARC as well. So going back to the ARC, if you go down under the alphabetical contents, it says entering student data in Eduphoria early literacy assessment instructions, and then below that is dual language instructions. So either one, whichever one you fits your need, you click on it, and it takes you to directions on how to enter the data. So that's for teachers to help them, especially if anyone's new. Also remember that interventions are no longer reported to Eduphoria. I think everybody knows that. We streamlined that last year since we use eStar for intervention data. So there's the early intervention key that you can share with teachers. And trying to get them to go to this tab as much as they can. I know it has a lot of information on it. There's just a lot of information for BAS. So that's where that was. Again, that was entering student data in Eduphoria. These two links here. The dual language one has specific information on it as well. And if I click on it, you can see that it includes more tailored information to CEL and EDL levels and titles there. Okay. So that's just a little friendly reminder. I'm going to check the Q&A because we're almost at the end here. If you have any questions that I haven't addressed, I have a few final important notes. So again, you can use the Ask a Question at Google Slides. That will link if anybody has any questions. Also, for those of you who weren't here at the beginning, what I need is for you to email me because we don't have an Eduphoria roster for on air. It's kind of hard to get a roster of that. But if you can email me and just tell me I was at the meeting on air, just like leave it at that, and that's all you have to do, just so I know who was here. And I'm Julie_DeLeon at roundrockisd.org. Okay, so no, I don't see any questions on the questions tool. So a few final notes. So please remember to share changes and updates with your entire campus. It's really, really important. Share the BAS tab with the entire campus for their reference. That's also important. Not everybody knows it's there, so just kind of showing them that that's there. Also, the FAQ for the BAS is really helpful in fielding questions. So please go to that first for questions or send teachers to that. First, and then you can contact me with your questions. That helps streamline the information. I can show you at the ARC. So the FAQ is right here, FAQ for Round Rock ISD. That was updated today. So you can see there it is. So just help people by sending them to that. Also, the assessment guide in their kit is really helpful as well in helping, especially with some of their questions about like, how do I code this error? Is this an error? Those things are really helpful. And the back inside cover of that assessment guide is information to help teachers with that. So that's a really important document. We like to field people to that. And here's some news that we have to deliver, and I apologize for this, but due to our current deficits in the funds at Round Rock, we're not going to be able to provide the BAS CEL EDL sub that we were usually able to do in the past. And we apologize. We know that that was a help, but just during a time when we're having to cut the budget and preparing for giving money back to the state, that fund that gave us BAS subs had to be cut. So we do apologize, and we thank you for working really hard on this test and helping get this information on kids as fast as we can. So, I'm just gonna wait here for a second to see if there's any other questions. You can use, again, the Ask a Question link at the top. And it looks like I don't see any questions. I'll hang out here for a couple of minutes just in case there are questions. Y'all can pose those. If you will, again, send me your name and an email and just let me know I attended the meeting. We really appreciate you taking the time. I know especially today was crazy with the late start and all the weather, it being the second week of school, and we just really appreciate everything that you're doing. You don't know how valuable you are to us in this process. So I just thank you for all you're going to do this year to help with this. And if you ever have any questions, you can email me, Julie DeLeon, and I will post this slideshow. Let's see here. Oh, it doesn't want to go any further. All right. Well, I'm going to post this to the ARC, and let me show you where it's going to be. So right here, I don't know if y'all can see my highlighting, but this says contact meeting on air recording. I'm going to post this recording there, and I'll also post these slides. That way you can share the slides or anything you want to do there. So that's where that's going to be held. Also, just a reminder that our BAS contact meetings are posted here on the bottom of the page, so that will help. And I think that's it. I don't see any further questions. If you do have any, feel free to use that link, and I'll be here. For the rest of you, thank you. I think we're done. So I hope your beginning of the year testing window runs great, and thank you for all you're doing to support teachers. You'll have a great afternoon. I'm going to hang out for a couple of minutes in case there's questions. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great evening. Thank you. I think we're done. I don't think there's any more questions. Okay, everybody, I don't see any more questions, so I'm officially signing off. Y'all have a great evening. Bye-bye.